It's 5:30. I'd like to call to order the September 8th meeting of the Urbana Human Relations Commission. Can we have a roll call, please?
Carol Bradford, Stacy Burnett,
Asaka Kinase-Leggett.
Stacy Burnett. I saw Stacy's name there.
Here.
I'm sorry, here I am.
Okay. Thank you.
Present.
Reverend Florence Kaplow, Asako Kinase-Leggett,
Here.
Peter Resnick,
Here.
Francis Rigberg,
Here.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Here.
Very good. We have a quorum. And now we will look at our agenda and have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Pete. We have a second.
I'll second. A moval to approve.
Okay, who is that?
Stacy Burnett.
Yeah, okay. Well, Pete has moved and Stacy's second to approve the agenda. Oh dear. Excuse me, backing up here in reverse. I must make an announcement. Pursuant to the gubernatorial disaster proclamation and the declaration of emergency for the city of Urbana, Illinois, related to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with changes to the Open Meetings Act, it has been determined that an in-person public meeting is not prudent or safe at this time. Members of the public body will attend remotely using Zoom webinar. Members of the public may attend via Zoom or view meetings remotely on Urbana Public TV through Comcast Xfinity on channel 6 and 1096, i3 broadband on channel 6, AT&T Uverse on channel 99, and streamed on the web at https://livestream.com/Urbana. So I believe that we will have to have a roll call vote for our, in this context. So Tamara, can we please have a roll call for approval of the agenda?
Stacy Burnett. That's okay. Go ahead, Fran.
I didn't call. I just got back from a trip. But it was on this planet. Is there any discussion of the agenda? Would anybody like to modify it in any way? Okay, let's have a vote on that.
Stacy Burnett.
Present.
Asako Kinase-Leggett.
Here.
Okay, we're voting yes or no now on the agenda.
All right, yes.
Okay.
Was that a yes for Stacy and Asako?
Yes.
Thank you. Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, the agenda is approved. We have 3 sets of minutes up for approval this evening for July 14th, July 20th, and August 11th. Would anyone like to move approval of those 3 documents or individually, however you want to do it?
This is Julie Robinson Schaefer. I move to approve all 3, mainly because I read the other 2 previously.
Okay, very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Pete. Now we have discussion. I have 2 small changes to be made to the August 11th meeting. And they're both in announcements. It states that it was noted the name change of the Human Rights Officer to that of Human Rights and Equity Officer. Actually, it was previously the Human Relations Officer, I believe. And the final sentence of announcements it states that 2 members have left the HRC, and it's actually only one. And that was Megan, who had to move to Champaign, so she's not eligible anymore. Those are the only 2 things I can see. Does anybody else have any change they'd like to make? Okay, now we'll have a roll call vote on approval of these 3 sets of minutes. Tamara, please.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Asako Kinesi Leggett,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Public participation. Let me see if anybody has raised a hand. It does not appear that anyone has raised a hand. So I believe there is no public input this evening. We can move on to unfinished business. There is none per se, although there will be some things discussed in the officer's report. For new business, we have our workforce statistics, a name change discussion, and election of officers.
Quick question, Fran, and I
Yeah.
probably should have asked this during approval of the agenda. On our August meeting, there was a closed session planned
Yes,
with regard to some security procedures. I don't see that on the agenda tonight. Is that going to happen later, or we'll do it separately?
Yeah. We decided that we'll do that when it comes, that was more for open.
Oh, for in-person meetings.
In-person meetings. So when we get to close to that again, we'll have that. We don't have to have that sitting here in person. We can do it online, but we can do it when it's going to be more relevant.
That sounds fine. No, I much appreciated. Thanks.
Okay. The EEO workforce statistics. Would like to present on that. So we don't real. Hi, Carla.
Hello, everybody.
I'd like to say that I feel a little overwhelmed by all the information we get, and maybe if I was being paid, I would. Anyway.
That was a big, long batch this month.
That was a lot. And I was wondering if that information is good and we should have access to it. It would be nice to have a little cheat sheet for us that had a little summary. The companies that are up for renewal, the period for which they had been approved in the past, their profile of the diversity numbers at that time of their previous approval, the profile of their numbers now, and the recommended approval by by Carla. Is that something we can do? I think, and then if we see a problem, we can dive into the.
Yes, I don't see a problem with doing that.
Mhm.
I would have done that if I known, but moving
Uh,
forward, we will have that available for
That
you.
would be great. That would just make it a little easier.
We do have a worksheet that at least gives us the numbers for now. Did you guys get that?
Yes.
Have you reviewed that? Okay, but I can do that. You want previous profile
The profile at the time of their last
of the
approval.
last approval, and then current profile, and then recommendations.
Yeah, and then we can get kind of a quick, and looks problematic, we can go in deeper.
Okay.
If that's agreeable to everybody, I think that would be helpful. It would be for me, certainly.
A lot of them came in, I'm sorry, a lot of them came in this week and late last week. So that was a challenge, but we will, moving forward, we will start doing that.
Okay, so do we have recommended? Let's see, let me get.
Let's see. I can start with, I think it's Blazer.
Okay.
Let me pull them up. Okay. Alrighty. They have small numbers, 22, but it's still above the number 15 that you guys had set as the standard.
Mhm.
There's some diversity.
Good.
Let's see. I don't know what you guys, what criteria you want to
Mhm.
base this on before I could give a recommendation. I was leaving that for you guys to decide because I didn't want to unduly influence any decisions, but I can do that, not influence decisions, but I can make recommendations moving forward.
Fran?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the report.
No,
Yeah.
that's all right. I think we can go through these and you can get a feel for what we're looking at. So taking Blager as an example, yes, a small group, excuse me, and so we don't expect a huge amount of hiring and turnover, and therefore the numbers might not be completely representative. But if we take a look, this past go round, they appear to have in their table C said that they separated 2 employees who were operative, semi-skilled, added 2 office and clerical, added back 1 operative, and none of those were minority hires. And the company is located in Urbana. Again, a small company. This would be the kind of company that I would expect would get especially given that they didn't attach any kind of extensive affirmative action policy to their submission. This is the kind of group that I would say would get a 1-year kind of approval with a letter saying, we'd like to see some improvement. We're glad to help. If you need help coming up with a way to advertise in better places, such and so, to show that you're making a good faith effort. Or to help you collect together data to show that you're already making a good faith effort. So this would be on at least my list of 1-year kind of recommendations. Someone who's not making any progress and has been repeatedly in front of us and isn't showing those good faith efforts, we might also either send them a letter or you might recommend we should discuss this at the meeting. Maybe these folks need to have a different kind of talking to, and maybe they need to come before us. Anyone who's very small, below that threshold number, or looks like they're making good progress, I would expect to get a 2-year approval.
Yes.
And others who've been around on the commission for a while can give their particular views on that, but that's sort of the way I've approached it over the years.
That sounds very familiar. We've done that many times. Yeah. I would agree with that.
So just by way of getting through all 10 of these, I've gone through enough of them that I can go through them sort of one at a time and make a recommendation if you'd like a motion that way. Or I don't know, Carla, if you want to do a quick run through, if you've already got an idea in your head of what these are looking like, either way is fine.
I haven't had an opportunity to look at all of them to a point where I would say yes, no, 1, 2.
Got it.
6.
No, that's fair.
That wouldn't be fair to the applicants for me to do that.
All right. I'll quickly scribble together a list of what I think the recommendations I can make are, but it'll take me a second. If others want to jump in and give their comments, that'd probably be
We'll
helpful.
just go ahead and change our name while you. Okay. Does anybody else have any comment they want to make on that or about handling these in general? Okay.
I know with the Farnsworth group, that one's very specific, and finding architecture, engineering personnel is very challenging. And so for them, I would say yes, because of the unique situation that we are in with locating that high level skill. That if I were giving a recommendation, I would definitely give a recommendation for them to be renewed for 2 years. Again, that's without parsing through all of the information, just what I've looked at, and understanding the skill set that they're bringing. I mean, their numbers are not fantastic, but they are diverse than some of the others. And again, the high skill level that they're providing for the city.
I
Would
would
be a
like to bring,
challenge to find.
okay.
Stacy?
Just glancing at Springfield Electric, I know they have been on the radar before.
Mhm.
And looking at it, I see where there's a column that was written in saying 2 or more races, and it's looks like 3 males for a sales worker and 3 males for, 3 total, 3 males for a sales worker. But it doesn't specify what race. What does that mean? What does that column mean?
We believe that they are saying that their employees did not specify one particular race, that they may be of mixed race. And so they separated that out. Tamara and I, we looked at that and we talked about that without knowing what race that we could categorize them in, that we probably shouldn't guess, because we could skew the numbers one way or the other. You can guess that they're probably, but we can't guess. But they did not say they were one race or another. So looking at the categories, we can assume that they're 2 of probably what we have listed.
And then the only question is whether they counted them as minority
Exactly.
employees in the total.
That's right.
number.
I was looking at too, because I see 3 in the Black or African American, but then I'm not sure if that's adding in the 3 from the 2 or more races. So,
Hmm.
and like I said, I know they were on the radar, I believe last year. So,
And with regard to Springfield Electric, and I've actually got a bigger picture question, but that table C on the 4th page of their application, where it tells how many separated in the past year, how many hired, they actually seem to be running. How did I figure this out? They're running about 12% minority hire currently, 12.5%. So if you take a look, it's 4 out of 32 male employees and 1 out of 8 female employees recently hired, which is 12.5%. Compared to our local demographics, that's not horrific. So, they also provided a huge amount of information about their, efforts to hire minority employees. I have a side question about that. They spent some time, and a couple of other vendors did as well, noting that they consider this confidential business information. And I'm wondering, because our information is generally public, anything that's presented to the commission, whether legal or public, our public information officer, our, what do you call it? I've completely lost the name of the act. The FOIA officer has reviewed this and what we intend to do about that. That's a slightly separate question, the approval or not of the document. But yeah, I felt like hiring wise, Springfield seems to be making good progress. And so we can either send a letter saying, well, we think you're making good progress, but we're going to keep an eye on it. I don't know if we want to do that. Or given how much it appears that they are working toward it, just give them the 2 years. I'm not sure.
Well, you can make, Pete, you can make a stab at that and we'll discuss it and vote on it.
I'm still scribbling down my numbers.
Scribble. Okay. And that's they are located in Champaign, right? Not in Urbana. Springfield. Right?
Yes,
But
Champaign.
we don't have any authority over their hiring.
I can tell you that, and this is just what we've been doing this week, is that we've reached out to, I believe, 4 of the companies working with them, and they've been very forthcoming with providing information that we've asked for. That would be Fairgram, GovTemps, and Farnsworth, and I can't think of the 4th one. I think it was Springfield.
What type of company is GovTemps USA?
Yeah.
You're muted.
I'm so sorry about that. They're a temporary staffing agency. They provide temporary employees for the city. And Tamara, if you have anything to add, please do.
The only thing I might note, something that I added to the spreadsheet this time, if you didn't notice on the first tab, the companies tab, I did put when they received their last certificate and what it was awarded.
Yes.
Okay, well, I've scribbled together a list if you want at least a motion on the floor.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, so I move approval of all of them with the following time frames. Blager Concrete, 1 year with a letter. Farnsworth Group for 2 years. Fair Group for 1 year with I'll say a positive letter. GovTemps USA 1 year with a letter. Health Alliance 2 years. Ileana Construction 1 year with a positive letter. Roanoke Concrete Products for 1 year. Sport Ready Mix for 1 year. Springfield Electric for 1 year with a positive letter. And WS Darley for 1 year. And just to explain, with regard to the positive letters, I think we want to keep up on these. I think we want to see their numbers next year again. But I think it's important to encourage these folks to say, look, this was on the verge of just giving you a 2-year free and clear approval, but we understand you're building and doing a good job at doing that. And we would just like to see the numbers next year, but we think you're going in a good direction.
You're good.
Which is a different kind of letter than we usually send, but these folks do seem to be doing a good job of trying to do something good here.
Right. That sounds very good. Would someone like to second Pete's motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay. I'd like to open it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion about this? Any changes anyone would like to see or concerns?
I just have a question. When we do and it's just a reminder, when we do the 1 year, do we send any sort of letter to say, I mean, I know Pete talked about the positive letter, which I think is great. Do we send any sort of notice with that 1 year? We're approving you for 1 year. However, we want to see improvement. Is there something that goes along with that 1 year approval?
That's been the standard letter that we've been sending. We have concerns about these numbers. We'll let this go for a year, but please be prepared to come up with better numbers next year, or at least some show of good faith efforts to improve those numbers.
That's what I want to make. I made an assumption that that was the case, given that you were referencing the positive letter and describing how it differed, but I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let's have a roll call vote on that motion.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Asako Kanezi Liggett,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes,
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
very good. That motion passes. Now we're going to move on to our name, which is now, of course, the Human Relations Commission. We've discussed this a bit in the past. And I hope people have been thinking a little bit about it. Would someone like to make a motion or a suggestion of a name that we might make ourselves consistent with the changes that have been made in the name of the office and the officer, namely from Human Relations to Human Rights and Equity. And making this change in particular will involve change in the ordinance, and we will probably need to, I was thinking of, at Carla's suggestion, partnering with someone on the council to draft a resolution that would suggest that the ordinance be changed to reflect our change of name.
So I actually have a question. What is the nature of what you want us to do right now? Do you want us to come up with a resolution, or do you want us to come up with what we think might go in a resolution that we'll hand off to City Council? Or
no, I think what I'm looking for is for us to decide what we want to be called. And if we decide we want to be called the Human Rights and Equity Commission or the Human Rights Commission, then I will go ahead and work on a resolution to that effect. And then it can become, I mean, there was no resolution to change Carla's title or the name of the office, but we have to have something because we have to change the ordinance. Because we're referred to in there specifically, not just as the officer or the office, but the Human Relations Commission. So I would like to open up the discussion. I think it would be a good idea to change it to Human Rights and Equity Commission or Human Rights Commission. I think we've talked about a little before that this is a little clearer for people who we're talking to and for when we, for our public face. Would anybody like to make a motion or discuss this in any way?
I'll at least make a comment.
Okay.
I like Human Rights Commission a little better than Human Rights and Equity Commission. It's less of a mouthful. It leaves our acronym the same as it always was. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other, but I agree that human rights, as opposed to human relations, is probably a little more familiar to people in the public, and that might be helpful. I don't think we particularly need a motion to give you a recommendation to come up with a resolution that we could pass. I think you could just get a sense of the room if everybody is in favor of that, because we're still going to have to vote on the resolution if we have such a resolution.
Oh, I was
We
thinking.
want to make a resolution tonight of what the name should be, and and we can say the Human Relations Commission recommends the council to change this throughout city ordinances.
Right, I didn't, I thought who has to pass a resolution? Do we have to pass a resolution or can we just vote on it?
We can vote on just simply having you send a letter to the mayor or to the city council. I think that would be fine, or just do that in the form of a resolution, which I think would also be fine, and vote on that. And we could do that tonight on the floor if you wanted. But I think in the end, they don't have to pass a resolution. They have to pass an ordinance change over on the city council. They can resolve all they want, but in the end, they have to pass an ordinance which says update these sections of the ordinance, of city code here and city code there and what have you.
Thank you. Okay, so usually I think of a resolution as something more formal with, reasons and conclusions.
Right, and it might not be a good idea to propose one on the floor because that does take a while to formulate correctly.
Also, our bylaws do say that we talk about things and we don't really vote on them until the following meeting.
Right.
So what we could do is we could agree upon a favored change, and then next week we can pass next month we can pass a resolution, and that would be fine with me.
And I suspect that,
Then we can interface with the council and they can do what they need to do.
yeah, I suspect that city council and probably city staff, there's a lot of places where the HRC gets mentioned throughout city code. It's going to be a tricky business to get everything updated.
Yes, but if we're lucky, they've used the acronym, which is where I was going with Pete as well. That they've used the
Yeah.
acronym HRC, so they only really have to change it a few places. I will concur with what Pete said. That was actually my feeling exactly, that it's less of a mouthful. The acronym doesn't change. I think it more accurately reflects the work of the commission to say human rights. I think human relations people think it's, hiring and not actually what we do. So I will second Pete's comments on that.
I was going to
We'll
say,
vote on these comments.
yeah, I agree as well, because when you had said human rights and equity, automatically I thought about the equity in my home. So dropping equity.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
Because rights picks up the equality that you're looking for. So
Sure. And that's usually what I say when I'm at a public place and people ask what we represent. I usually say the Human Rights Commission. And I think that gets right to it. So I also agree with this. So I think we have a consensus, and next time we'll have a resolution. Or a revolution, whatever. Now we have, so good. Okay, good. We've got that. That's great. Okay, now we have our somewhat delayed election of chair and vice chair. Would anybody like to? I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to defer to someone else who would like to take this role. So would anybody like to propose a slate or a chair or a vice chair? But I guess both. We can do both at once.
And I will repeat something Fran said, which is I'm not only glad to defer, but if folks don't yet feel comfortable jumping into the fray, I am happy to talk to people over the course of the next not quite year now to go through the duties and bring you up to speed if you are interested in doing so in the future. I'm also willing to do another term if folks desire, but I'm in no way committed to it. So please feel free to say, hey, I'd like to give it a try.
Exactly.
Chair is harder, but vice chair is not that hard.
And it's awkward because I'm sitting presiding over. It's terribly awkward. Okay. Would anybody like to put themselves forth, or somebody else, or?
I will put forth Fran as chair and Pete as vice chair for consideration. I myself would like more time to learn the roles. I would not feel comfortable offering myself up at this time.
I would like to be have Pete as a mentor and training too.
I will take you up on that.
I like that a lot. That's nice. Anybody else like to make any
I agree
comments?
with Julie.
Yeah, and when you're brand new, it's kind of Okay.
So it was that a motion and a second to be official about it?
Julie moved and Asako second. That Pete and I continue, and Stacy is at the ready.
Yes.
I agree with that.
All right. I guess we should have a vote. Tamara, please.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Asako Kanezi Leggett,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Next we have the officers report, which is juicy. Very interesting this week. Go ahead, Carla. You're
You
on.
set that up, so now I have to deliver.
Well, it's good.
Some of the things that I've been working on, there are no closed cases. There were no informal complaints during this time. The formal complaints, we don't have any new complaints, but I continue to work to resolve the one housing complaint that I've previously shared with you. It is progressing along. Both parties are participating in providing information, and so we're just moving forward in that. Community office activity. I've worked with the chair to get the letters to landlords composed. There are 3 communication pieces that will be sent out: an introductory letter, a more focused letter to landlords concerning violations, and a general information letter with a Know Your Rights flyer to be posted where potential renters can read it. Those letters were scheduled to go out tomorrow, yesterday morning, but due to the holiday and us getting back and having to work on making sure we had all the EEO stuff together, those letters, we're looking to have those go out hopefully tomorrow. We were just getting our information together for the lead-in email that some of the landlords will be receiving. We have that done. And so Tamara will be working on that tomorrow to get that first introductory letter out. And then the rest will go in a sequence, not like one after the other, but give it a couple of days in between, and then sending out the next letter. And then the Know Your Rights, we'll get those flyers printed out and then have those sent out either via snail mail and then also email. I've completed 2 state-sponsored webinars, the Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act for public bodies. Unfortunately, these do not satisfy the mandatory training for public body members, but it did provide an in-depth understanding of the subject matter. The state recognizes that the training website is still down and will let everyone know when it is back up. I do have the PowerPoints from the presentation that I will share with the commission. And if anyone, I will let people know as the state lets us know when that training will be available. Reached out to several organizations and individual stakeholders to provide historical legal understanding and insights of the city ordinance. I've reached out to Illinois Department of Human Rights, HUD, the Housing Authority of the city of, or the Champaign County, and also community members, some that were recommended that I reach out to, had conversations with them, and also with the Chicago, the City of Chicago Housing, Fair Housing Department. I've made connections with the deputy director there and some of the workers, just to gain a better understanding of, interpretation of the law and how those things, how they look for Urbana. And I have been working with the previous HRO to help me walk through those. I continue to do the EEO certification. I'm moving through that slowly but surely. And today I provided an introductory presentation to the Champaign County Community Coalition. And that was literally right before I got on this call.
What was that like? How
that was, it was a bit of awe. I didn't realize how many people were on the call until one of the speakers said the number, and it's like, and I was towards the last of the presenters, and so I kept looking at that number and like, is it going up? Is it going down? But in the end, I just told myself, I'm just introducing myself, trying to make those critical connections with community members and community leaders and organizations, so that I can be, better equipped to do my job and to serve the community of Urbana.
Wonderful.
And that's the end of my report.
So,
any questions?
Yes.
a quick comment. Just in terms of the letters that are going out to landlords, I did want to mention to the other commission members and the public that at least one of those letters has the text that we had recommended some months ago go out to landlords, of reminding them very specifically about the not discriminating against people with prior criminal or arrest records, and not discriminating against people for source of income, specifically housing vouchers. And I want to say that Carla worked with both Fran and I on specific language, and I think the letter came out very well. I wanted to give my quick apology. I've got still a small list of landlord websites to look at and to try and investigate a little more regarding the letter of actual potential violations. And it's been just a busy couple of months here. And so that's still on my list, and I will get back to it soon.
And if I may add, prior to those letters going out, we want to make sure that the who's receiving the letter should receive the letter. And so, yes, we've been looking on that, and the chair and I, we looked at the ordinance, and it said that we would be doing that. And so that's something we're looking at, making sure that we do prior to sending out those letters. And I can say, yes, the letters do have the strong language, and they get stronger as they go. By the time you get to the third letter, it's pretty strong. And so I just thank the chair and the vice chair for helping me, because I knew a letter needed to go out. I didn't know what needed to be in it, being new. And so they provided guidance and understanding, and I really appreciate that. And so that task, it's been on the minds of a lot of stakeholders. That task will be completed by this week.
Yes, it's very exciting to be doing this and to be realizing our commitment we made at the beginning of the year to focus on housing, and particularly these areas of housing where people run into problems. And it's very exciting to me to see this happening. And I'm hoping that it will also, we will see the effects of it, and we'll see how it plays out. We also, I'm excited to see next year, for example, attacking the area of employment in a similar way, and making our presence and our ordinance felt in this sort of way. I think it's very important. So thank you very much, Carla. And it was a great pleasure working with you on these things.
I did have one thing that was added late, and I was trying to get that information because it was something I needed to share with the commission. And I'm trying to find it. Okay, here it is. The city of Urbana will be participating in the CU Pride Fest, and we will have, I believe, 3 tables at the vendor fair, and we will be looking for volunteers, and they were hoping that the commissioners would be willing to participate and man the table for a shift. They don't have the shifts completely spelled out, but they are looking for volunteers to help man the table for those shifts. They're going to make sure all of the information is available to us. They would just like for us to be able to participate and by volunteering to man the tables.
What's the date?
The date is Saturday, September 25th from 12 to 6 in downtown Urbana. And they are hoping to have 1 or 2 hour shifts. And I will forward the information to you so that you're able to click on the links and get more information about it.
That's great. I know that the city was considering adding some language to the ordinance to specifically mention gender identification and expression as named protected classes. Carla, do you know anything about whether there's been any movement on that?
I know there's been discussions, but I don't believe there's a decision that's been made yet. I know that has definitely been a discussion, but I can follow up and ask the question.
Okay, that's great. Does anybody else have any announcements they'd like to make? Okay, well, thank you all for coming. It was great to have a quorum again and to be moving forward on these things. So thank you all for coming, and the meeting is adjourned.